So thank you for coming to the evolution of gaming hardware, and please welcome Mark Daiana from Alienware.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I gotta warn you, I partied really hard last night, so I'm gonna be a little off, but that's all right. We're gonna have fun, right? That's what this is all about. So we're gonna talk about the evolution of gaming hardware today, and of course, I'm Mark Daiana from Alienware, and we're gonna talk about all kinds of things, but where we're going to start is in the beginning. Woo, in the beginning. So what we have here is, most of you guys probably know this device, okay? So this is a game called Tennis for Two. William Hickenbottom's Tennis for Two. So in 1958, this device was created to basically kind of be the world's first, or it's considered really the world's first video game. And what's interesting about this device is the I/O. So check out the way people used to input on this thing, right? So gaming's come quite a long way. In 1958, this is probably considered really high-end shit, right? I mean, if you found a product like this out there, it was probably worth about $35,000, and it cost a hell of a lot to make in terms of man hours and resources and that stuff. Tennis for Two is really important because it kind of opened the door to a lot more things in gaming. And by the way, we're going to make this interactive. So if anybody wants to just shout out anything, hey, what's this or what's that, or you want to talk, we have mics out there, so we're just going to hand you a mic and let's make this interactive and fun. So gaming gold rush in the 70s, right? So those of you who lived through this, you probably lived through one of the best eras ever. I wasn't around. I was -10 at the time. But this era was probably one of the most interesting eras, at least I believe to be one of the most interesting eras in gaming, because you had kind of a convergence going on in the industry. You had, on one side, you had these arcades, which were filled with adolescent youth, probably stoned out of their mind on 70s stuff, playing Pong. You had guys who were basically developing systems out there. So you have Magnavox here. This white system is called the Magnavox Odyssey, and Atari up there, which is the 2600, very famous system. I really love the look of this. I wish we would create a machine these days with some wood paneling on the side, but unfortunately, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. But I really like that look, classic look. Pong there in the middle, and then Coleco towards the right. I'm not sure. Does anybody remember any of these things out there? Yeah. These gaming devices are, in my opinion, these are the granddaddies. I really like these machines. But you know, what basically happened is, like I said, you have this convergence going on. You have people going out into the arcade. It's a highly social thing. You go out, you play Pong, you play Pac-Man, you play some of these games, and you interact, of course. And then you had other companies like Magnavox, Coleco, and Atari splitting the market and going into more of a home environment. And unfortunately, what this did is basically it split the market up into a lot of different areas. And as developers, as you guys, most of you out there are developers, there wasn't enough content out there to really make those markets sustainable and long term. So what you have is just a common economic principle where you create a bubble and then pop. So in 1977, basically the entire gaming industry crashed. And oddly enough, odd piece of information, my grandfather was the product manager for the Magnavox Odyssey, so that was pretty cool. I had a Magnavox Odyssey growing up, and it was a fantastic system. Played the shit out of that thing. But then, along comes this guy, right? So I think, and I mean, how many of you guys agree with me in this room that this is the best console ever made? Yeah, I mean, it is, right? Come on, the NES. The Dreamcast, that was a good one. The Dreamcast was a good console. Neo Geo and Dreamcast. Neo Geo is a great system, still is today. And actually, you can buy Neo Geos today. I don't know if you know that, but they're still selling them. NHK. So the Nintendo Entertainment System comes on the scene. It gets launched in 1983 in Japan, and it's basically marketed in Japan as this family entertainment system. So bring the family together and you can get your ass kicked by Mike Tyson. And that was the concept, right? So get everybody in the living room. For kids and people like myself, I spent probably, this is 3 months cutting grass, doing odd jobs, everything short of like killing somebody for a contract to get a system. And I saved up all this money and I went out to the store, and I remember it like it was yesterday. We picked up the box, went home, turned it on, and I played for probably 14 hours straight. And I was like, I really love this shit. I want to do this shit for a living. And I was about 7 or 8. And I put some of the games up here because I think that these games are awesome games, right? So you had Metroid. Metroid is a fantastic game. Developed one of the first games for the NES, but what's great about Metroid was it kind of opened a lot of doors to say that these games, you could save your progress. And actually the original Metroid, you had to punch a code in to basically get back to where you were, and it would fill your inventory and stuff with where you were and all your items. Legend of Zelda had RAM on the cartridge, so you could physically save your progress. And everyone, I'm sure some of you guys out there, this would happen to me every now and then. You would throw your cartridge in, you would hit power, and all your save files were gone. That was because static electricity out there, moving the cartridges around. And of course, everyone had the famous way of getting your Nintendo to start when it was broken. Sometimes you smack it, sometimes you blow into it. I had a friend of mine who used to kick it across the room. That worked really well for a while. But of course, Mega Man 2, one of the other more famous games, one of the best soundtracks probably ever on the NES, and Dracula's Curse. So great system. But what this system did is basically it brought the gaming industry back from the brink, right? So people were extremely, U.S. companies in particular, were extremely cautious about getting back into a market like this because these big players, Atari, Magnavox, Coleco, they had almost all of them gone bankrupt by trying to support a market like this. And here comes this Japanese player who used to make trading cards. That's how Nintendo started. They made tops, almost like baseball cards. And they come into the market and they're like, good luck. But it did really well, and it spawned a lot of gaming companies today that are really big. Some are evil, some are not. But it really reignited that game engine design and development era. But what started to happen was really the same thing, but with a lot more walled garden approach with the consoles. So content was there. People are making content for the NES. Sega's on the scene. They've got consoles as well. Genesis, great console. Super Nintendo comes along. People are making games. They're getting rich. These companies are doing really well. But on the side, you have these PC developers, right? And these PC development things that are going on, right? So you can see some of the more classic titles that are up here. And what's interesting about the PC ecosystem, and what we find as Alienware so interesting even today, is it embraces an open environment, right? And Valve and the Steam platform, they've really echoed that environment in a lot of things that they do. And we're going to get to how this makes sense, and where trajectories are going in the future. But the PC was a really important device in fostering this open environment, because you didn't have to be on a console. You didn't have to pay Nintendo or Sega to get on a box. The Alienware system that you see there, that's one of our early systems. That thing was effing huge. It was like this big. And it weighed about, I want to say 80 pounds. I mean, so it's come a long way from a system like that to something like this, which I think in terms of power, if I'm going to make a guess, the power that we have in this today, in this Steam box, Steam machine that you guys have seen, is probably equivalent to maybe 10 or 20 of these devices. And this tower we launched back in, I want to say, probably 1998, 2000, that time. So it's come a long way in a really short window. And we'll get into where it's going too. Okay, So when I first started working at Alienware, it was 2004, and I remember I started, and we had this guy here, which was a beefy, badass machine. I mean, this thing was this big, and that was closed. You know, I remember because I could wrap my hands around it like that, and it was massive. And we saw a market where people were, by the way, we sold a ton of those products. We honestly sold so many of them, it was remarkable, because we saw a market where people were demanding high-end horsepower. They're like, hey, I not only want to play Unreal 3, but I want to play with all the settings jacked up. I want to play with every dial and knob jacked up, but I also want a system that's portable. And we struggled for a while because we were probably the first manufacturer out there to develop a device like this guy all the way on the left here, because we didn't know what to call it. We were like, I don't know if we can get away with calling this thing a notebook. It's going to hurt your back. Like if you carry it around on a backpack for a weekend, you're going to have to go see a chiropractor on Monday. And the system was an expensive system as well, and people were willing to invest in this because, you know, gaming is the thing about gaming that's so interesting is its passion, right? It's a passionate industry. You guys are developers and creators and artists and animators, and it's a passionate industry, and people are willing to back that passion with hard-earned money. And a system like this, it was a great device at the time. So we called it a desktop replacement because we couldn't, you know, get by with calling it a laptop. The system in the middle was our newer system that we launched. That was called our M17X, and that system really spawned a new direction for us as a company with a new ID, new look and feel. We went from a company that was really like kind of sci-fi-ish, kind of futuristic. We had our trademark, like what we call the alien gills. And then we went to a sleeker look. We went to, a lot of the design was inspired by companies like Lamborghini, Porsche. We wanted to get more into materials that were higher end, so we used materials like aluminum. We used materials like carbon fiber. And it was really fun, I got to tell you, to work on products like this because they're beautiful. At the end of the day, like you can feel the build quality. You know it's a premium product. And then we have the XPS. I put two towers here, but compared to the previous tower that was over here, so believe it or not, those are actually bigger. So as technology was increasing, in our field, things got bigger instead of smaller. So it was kind of different. We had you know, Dell and other companies over here, and technology was getting faster, and performance was getting better, and power draw was decreasing, but form factor was decreasing as well with it. With ours, system sizes grew. The XPS system was, I think, fully configured. When it shipped in the box, I remember the weight on that because it was 140 pounds. 140 pounds showing up at your front door. And let me tell you, that was probably the happiest day of your life when you got a system like that at the front door. It's a really cool experience, the whole out-of-box thing that we do, it's awesome. But that system out of the box weighed about 80 pounds. Really heavy system, but again, premium materials. The system all the way to the right there, that's our Area 51 system. And when we designed the system, we were getting really crazy. I mean, some of these guys who design products for us, they're incredible human beings, and the things that they think of are like really zany. And it's funny, you know, when you come to the idea because you're writing shit down on a board, and you're like, yeah, let's do that one. The one that sounds like entirely stupid, and that's with the gills. That's how the active venting system got created. We were like, what if the top of the PC had gills? And the gills would open up when your computer got hot, and that's where the exhaust ports and the heat would be removed. And so we made it. And you know what? It's awesome. And it works today. We use different active venting methods on our system today, but predominantly we're going to take a different direction in the future. But you'll always see stuff like that from us. But a lot of performance that you see with the PC today is predominantly driven through graphics, right? And the reason why it's predominantly driven through graphics is we have different upgrade cycles from the consoles, as you guys know. So the consoles just went through a very long upgrade cycle. I believe it was like 8 years for both platforms. And for the PC, we've been able to constantly stay on the game by getting high-end graphics solutions from our partners. So I just put like a quick little chronicle here to show you guys how far it's come. All right, so let's talk about Steam. So digital explosion with Steam, right? So Steam gets on the scene in late 2003, and a lot of you guys out there remember this. I know I do, because I picked up Half-Life 2, and I was like, what the hell is this? What is this? What is this Steam thing? So as Steam begins to grow and as people begin to use it, what becomes interesting about it is not only does it provide a platform for you guys as developers to push the titles that you want and interact with the marketplace that really wasn't around before Steam, but what's interesting about it is the community aspect as well. So the Steam customer is very different from your typical like console customer. In fact, internally we have a name for some of them called alpha influencers, because they go out there and they talk and talk and talk about technology and they talk about their products, and they can be really, really good for you, or they can be really bad. If you put a product out there that's no good, they're going to tell you, this product is shit, it's no bueno, and you're not going to sell anything. We would like to think as the Steam community as a community that is really active, but it's also a community that we have to do justice by. And what I mean by that is, with these new platforms out there now, with Steam machines and the evolution of where Steam OS is going, we really have to get it right with this customer first before we can start talking about, hey, well, what about the console market? Should I buy a Steam machine or should I buy a PlayStation 4? We know that the customer that we really want to target and we really want to do right by is that Steam customer. So with Steam, what really happened is, again, throughout the 2000s, and of course up until now, Steam began to just grow and grow and grow. And a lot of people, we as Alienware, we read articles, we get information from companies like IDG, and all these fancy bigwig companies come in and they tell us, well, PC is dead, PC is dying, gaming is dead, and gaming PCs are dying. And we're like, really? Because we're selling truckloads of this shit, and we think that it's a great market. We think that people out there are hungry for something different. There's people out there who don't want to be put in a box, and we think that this platform is the best platform for innovation. And we continue to invest in it, and that's why today we have Steam machines. So Steam machines are really that next evolution in hardware design and PC innovation. I had another video here. Should we risk it? Should we give it a whirl and see? No? It's going to be awkward anyways. Who cares? This is a great video The Verge did out of CES. Oh, the advertisement will work. We know that. But I can skip it in 5. Wow, this is pretty bad, guys. The internet sucks. I mean, we're not even getting the ad to flow. Oh. All right, let's see if it works. Mr. Greg Coomer from Valve is in this. All right, come on.
The next generation of game consoles are here, but they won't be alone. This is a Steam machine, a new category of game system designed for the living room. 3 years ago, Valve, the company behind the Half-Life and Portal games, devised an ambitious plan.
Internet fail. That's a shame. I really wanted you guys to see this. Go on your phones later and check it out. It's awesome. This time I'm going to close it. Okay. So essentially, and I'm just going to see if I can remember everything that's in the video because I don't want to leave out any important things. But essentially what's going on is we are actively investing in bringing Steam to different rooms and helping Valve do that. So for over a year, we've been working on this platform and this design, and I have the product here. If you haven't seen it, when we get done with the presentation, definitely check it out. But what's different about our product is we basically And the way we work as Alienware is we basically have this Willy Wonka candy shop in the corner, and that's the Dell Engineering Lab, right? And I think Dell today probably has around 60,000 employees. The Alienware unit is 35 people inside of Dell. So we operate like this little Navy SEAL team, and we're able to leverage and pull all these resources from the larger mothership and incorporate some of those specs and engineering and design into products that we want to make. So it's kind of cool. We have like the best of both worlds, and we really do run in a lot of ways like a small wholly owned subsidiary inside of Dell. But what makes this product interesting is, as you can see, its size, right? So it's incredibly small, and the reason why it's small is we're able to create, again, using those resources, our own motherboard that goes into this product. So the product itself, you won't be able to buy the board that goes in here and like build a type of product like this. But when we started, taking a look at what we wanted to do with a box like this, it's basically designed to slide into a media rack, right, underneath your TV, right next to, if you had a gaming console or you're throwing one out because you're tired of that thing, definitely get this product, put it under there, and all the venting was designed around that type of media center rack. So underneath, we developed this new venting system that basically sucks in cold air all around the sides like this, and we put two large heat sinks here in the product on the roof, and then heats exhaust out in the back. The product's going to have HDMI out, so your primary video source will come out with HDMI. Power brick will be external. Gigabit Ethernet, two HDMI, or sorry, two USB 3.0 and optical. There'll be two USB 3.0 in the front. There's no optical drive, as you can see, because we know that the majority of people that buy this product are going to download their titles for Steam. You can hook an optical drive up to it, but when was the last time you bought a piece of optical media? It's probably been quite some time. So don't let its size fool you. It's going to be incredibly powerful, and I think that when it launches, there's going to be a lot of people in the room who go, holy shit, I can't believe that Alienware is selling a product that has that performance for just an unbelievable price. So I can tell you that if there's stigmas out there about us being expensive, expect those stigmas to shatter. One of the questions I get a lot is, why is the Valve logo kind of pointing downward like this? That's because most media racks are like high gloss and shiny, and the logo will like reflect, so it adds like a nice touch there to the media rack. Okay, let's talk about the future of gaming. I'm not sure how I'm doing with time. How am I doing with time, guys? Because this is where shit's gonna get really weird. It's gonna get bizarre, and then it's gonna get a little awkward. Okay, so the future of gaming, right? So Oculus is here. They're doing some demos. If you haven't seen a lot of these products out there, then you've been living under a rock. These things are basically making a lot of headlines and a lot of waves for a lot of different reasons. And I think that the way that we kind of look at it is it's like an immature virtual reality. And what I mean by that is, when we think of VR and we think of where it's going into either even VR or AR, it's really immersive. It's incredibly immersive. In fact, true VR is designed to be really more like the Matrix, right? Where you can't decipher, you can't tell the difference between what's real and what's not. And I/O and inputs are happening the way you would naturally have them move. Like your brain tells you to move your arms, you move your arms, right? So that type of environment, that I/O, that interaction that's going to happen much later. But in the next 10 years, we're going to see a lot more of devices like this. So, for example, the Rift, that device, theoretically, you could plug it right into here, and you could play the titles that you guys make on an Oculus Rift if it's supported through a Steam Machine device. This other product here, this is one that's made by Sony. It's got there's two different versions here. One of them's got like a head tracking camera on it. You can see it over there. That basically works so that when you move your head like that, it actually like moves around. Oculus did a new demo. You guys should definitely check it out. I believe it's called Crystal Cave. It was done in CES, and the way that they use a tracking device on it is actually pretty interesting. It's a lot of LED diodes that are on the Oculus device, and there's a camera that tracks the LED diodes, and the movement of your head is tracked very precisely. It's just an incredible way of interacting with a game versus like moving a control and having to like look as you're moving the control. So it's more intuitive. It's less of a it's less of an unnatural experience. But this is definitely not going to be like the virtual reality of Hollywood. If you guys remember, I think for me, I don't know about you guys, but for me, the one movie that kind of like I was like, oh God, what is this virtual reality thing? Was a terrible movie called Lawnmower Man. I don't know if you guys remember this movie, but it was god awful. And in the Lawnmower Man, essentially, he was in like a full like haptic suit, and that type of virtual reality, or like what I like to call like Hollywood virtual reality, that's nothing like this. This is really more of a way to interact with today's products in a method where you're not looking at a screen, essentially. So it's just a different way of interacting with them. But then things get a little weird. And what I mean by that is in the next, probably, well, I think it's going to be in like the next 20 years, there's going to be a lot of stuff out there that crosses ethical boundaries. So you're going to see, do you guys remember when it was kind of shocking? It was like the government, politics, big politics. I think Hillary Clinton was one of them too, that found out that there was like blood in video games, and all the parents were in an uproar. Oh, Mortal Kombat has blood and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, yeah, it's been around for like 10 years. Where have you guys been? You're going to start to see that with this. And what I mean by that is you're going to start to see government come in and be like, hey, yeah, we're not so sure about having all these experiences happen to you where you're sitting in a room for 25 hours and your body's experiencing different feelings and different sensory overloads. And I put some books up here and some movies because a lot of these topics, they aren't far off. And a lot of these are going to be situations that you guys as developers are going to grapple with, right? So one of the books is a great book by Ernest Cline. It's called Ready Player One. A lot of the theme here, which is kind of strange, is a dystopian theme, right? Like the future is jacked up in every one of these books. Of course, Bradbury's 451's up there because eventually, you know, there'll be limitations on what you can do. Strange Days is a really good movie. Essentially, the way Strange Days works, or the theme of it, and I won't spoil it for you guys if you haven't seen it, but I'm sure most of you have. It's like a device that gets put on your brain, and it's not VR. You close your eyes, but essentially, it is VR, and it's interacting directly with your brain. And what's happening is you get to experience everything, every sort of emotion, every feeling that someone else in reality experienced. So there's a host person who basically records their emotions and their sensory, their feelings and their sensors, and then multiple people out there with these devices can experience exactly what they felt. And it gets weird because there's people out there who want to do some kinky shit, right? And there's people out there who want to experience weird things. And all of this, as a developer, or as developers, all of this has a theme, again, that you guys are going to have to grapple with, because as this stuff does as the lines between reality and what's real and not begin to blur so great, you know, what do you do? What do you make? You know, as an institution and as a collective of people out there making games, like, are you okay with somebody dying because they played your game for 35 hours? And again, this is not far off. I mean, you guys have seen some of the articles in China of some poor kid, some poor bastard who's played WoW for like 48 hours and he just collapses dead in his chair. I mean, you know, these types of sensory feelings that we get, the endorphins, the experiences, the chemical stimuli that happens to the brain, it's going to make for an interesting future, and it's all going to be completely virtual. And a lot of these things, if we take a step back and we say, well, it's not going to be that bad. It won't be that bad. In a lot of ways, a lot of this it's still very dramatized, very Hollywood. But there's a lot of industries out there that can benefit from VR, and we're already seeing some of those today, right? Like healthcare, auto mechanic design, or just general design, period. And of course, physics, right? You can explain to a classroom full of kids how physics work in an environment that's entirely virtual by destroying things and seeing, you know, the way they collapse, or interacting with mathematical problems in different ways in a virtual world. And that gives kids and education a powerful new tool to in which to learn. So that's really it. I know, boring, I know. But I wanted to open up the floor for QA and see if anybody wanted to ask a question. If it's a dumb question, I'm going to give you a real dumb answer.
Hi, I want to ask a question you probably can't answer. But,
yeah.
The Alienware box, what is the approximate price going to be like on that?
That is a question I can't answer. Well, I suppose I should ask you how much money you have in your pocket. We can start there. 0? You have credit cards though, right? I can take those. So the price, what I can say about the price and what I can say about the performance is it will be very comparable to the next generation of consoles in both price and performance. That's a very PRZ answer. I'm sorry. I hate those answers, but they made me say it. They always do. Yes, back there.
Yeah, I wanted to ask what the power supply was like on the AC adapter for the Alienware box up there, and if the AC adapter will be larger than the box itself.
No. Okay. I can't answer that. No, I can answer it. So the power supply that's going to be in this unit, geez, I wonder if I should tell you the wattage. I don't think I will. I'm already in enough trouble. The power brick is probably going to be a little larger than the brick that you see here. And the reason why we chose to have the brick live outside of the box is because the PSU is typically a high, generates a lot of heat, right? And if you see a lot of the systems that are up there, that are out there, and I actually don't, a lot of people are asking, you know, how do you feel about the other platforms and stuff, and do you see them as competitors? And we actually don't really see them as competitors, not just yet. We really see them as partners in getting this ecosystem right. But when you design your own board like this, you can leverage, again, Dell being the multifaceted company that it is, you can leverage PSU bricks from different sides of the business and have something be external versus be internal. Because again, heat is always the enemy. You want to remove as much heat as you can. And by removing the brick, we're able to hit a smaller form factor like this. So again, a little bit of a PRZ answer for you. But if you have money, I'll tell you in the back. Crickets. All right. Oh, there's one back there.
Why wasn't the hacker in the amp in the books?
What'd you say? You're one of the hackers in the books?
No. Why wasn't the hacker and the ants in the book list?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think that, well, okay. So let's talk about the books for a second. So first off, if you haven't read these 2 books, or these 3 books actually, you should definitely read them. Most people required reading in school is 451. It's a really good book. It's an old book, but it's got a lot of themes they're really scary. They deal with, again, that type of control of information. But on a similar theme, probably my favorite up here is definitely Ready Player One. If you haven't read this book, check it out. It's great. It's a really good read. It's an easy read. But a lot of the themes in there they're, again, dystopian universe and all that stuff going on. But good question, and it probably should be up there. All right. I think we're going to end it. I'll be around outside. Again, I take cash and credit card. If you want to learn more about the product, just hit me up. And thank you guys so much for listening to my big dumb face chat for so long. Take care.